Okay, well, I said 6:05 and it's 6:05, so we are gonna go ahead and get started. I apologize for you in the room. You're seeing a lot of the pop-ups that are happening on the screen, so just the nature of having two laptops, but those of you online, nope, you're good. A shot, but maybe in a second. Okay. Those online, feel free to add stuff in the chat. We're watching that as well. And we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves and welcome you to our 2024 Hatch Detroit contest by TechTown. We're very excited. My name is Christine Malone. I am the Assistant Vice President of Economic Development at Wayne State, as well as the Chief Program Officer here at TechTown. And this is a great longtime friend, but also the founder and original executive director of Hatch Detroit, but she is now our strategist in residence here at TechTown, Victoria. You're welcome. Oops. So a little bit about TechTown. Clearly, you found the building, you found our song online. We are Wayne State's entrepreneurial hub, and so we are here to accelerate growth of both tech startups as well as small businesses, and really provide resources for all stages. And so whether it's growth stage, startup stage, acceleration stage, we're really here to provide the resources, not only the space, but the expertise to really help advance businesses, not only here in Detroit, Highland Park, Hamtramck, but we're actually going to be starting, to really expand our services beyond those borders as well. So we're very excited about all that offers through TechTown, but also with our connection through Wayne State University, which provides a whole other plethora of resources and opportunities as well for small businesses. And so, as I said, we've supported over 5,000 small businesses. We've actually supported over, $35 million in capital leverage last year, which is a tremendous number. And that's not even including the amount that all of the Hatch alumni have been able to support as well. Oops. Comerica, they are a sponsor of the event. And so this is just an opportunity, a nice plug for a sponsor who actually grants that $100,000 to the award winner. I'll let Victoria talk about Hatch.
Yeah, so Comerica Bank actually has been our longstanding surprise founder or sponsor since the beginning in 2010 or 11. And I was the previous, as Christiane mentioned, the executive director for 12 years of Hatch Detroit. In 2021, we decided to find a partner for that work and allow me to kind of dabble in some other things, but still stay connected and work with the alumni and things like that. So TechTown was the perfect partner for us to move that into. And like Christiane said, we've worked together for years. So hopefully you'll find benefits from just like the history that TechTown has and working in this world, and then the history that I bring to the table from working as a Hatch person for so many years and kind of developing the framework in which the Hatch Detroit contest and alumni network moves forward. So that said, we've had some pretty great successes. I think you probably know a lot of the winners and our alumni as they've gone through. Christiane brought up Baobab Fair here. We've had La Feria, Sister Pie, Batch Brewing Company, 27th Letter Books, Metaphysica, and others
around the city.
Yeah. And then we have our alumni that we work with that didn't win the prize, which I think is a really important distinction for all of you guys, because there's a group of you that might not decide this is the year for you to apply, or maybe all of you will, but there is what I never say in any presentation is that there's only one winner, because we really, really, really believe that the 10 alumni and the people that move forward in the contest are all winners. And our mission is to strive to get you, maybe you don't get the $100,000, but you will get the expertise and support to try to make your way to open. So as a result, in the years that we've had, we've opened over 56 businesses. We have several of them now that I'm working with to open. I know we just talked about 2 of them that are scheduled to open in the middle of this year, but we have more to talk about after this when we debrief. So we are moving those through. So if the numbers meant that we only help the winner, we would only have 10 winners.
Yeah.
So, but we've had, much more than that. So I want you to keep that in mind as you go through the process, because that is an important distinction of what makes a good, like a Hatch alumni, an important, you know, it's a family type thing. So, oh, I'm not even looking at
No, it's
this.
okay. I mean, you pretty
So-
much hit on all those. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's more. We have to update that.
I know.
one.
I realize that.
And then, yeah, so, we have over 10,000 hours of direct mentoring support. That's a lot of hours. And it's really, and I just was telling Christiane, I just came from an event that, you know, we don't just give the money out. And I think that is the distinction that a lot of people need to understand. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but I really work to make sure that you're maximizing, if you're a winner, that $100,000 is used to maximize as much money as you physically can get that's out there, so that you're not just getting a prize and then having to be on your own to seek the funding. Because quite frankly, you know, I'm working with a winner now. The budget, she had $100,000. Her budget is about $612,000. So finding that gap, all the while leveraging that $100,000 so it doesn't just disappear while we're working, is something that is really important. And even if you don't win, that's one of the things that we really work for, is to make sure that you're applying for the grants in a way that makes sense, so you can maximize getting things to the most. And that's something that as an alumni, if any of you are one, which we hope you are, that's something that I can guarantee.
And I would say also, because it's with TechTown, you have access to all of our resources now before even the contest starts. So we have free strategy sessions, free 25-minute strategy sessions with subject matter experts. You know, we have a whole, you know, a co-working space. There's a lot of things that come as resources. And of course, the extended network we provide that is, of course, Victoria is definitely part of that network. But, you know, we can leverage that as well, whether you know, end up applying for the contest, don't, you know, go through it no matter what stage. Everything that we have here is accessible to you at any point in time. So,
yeah, and I want to say, under Christiane's leadership, that's been really more defined in the last year. So 100% on that. I do meet with the other team members at TechTown, both our staff and contract, so that sometimes I am able to do, you know, we all have different skill sets on the team. And even if somebody is not a Hatch alum, sometimes I'm asked to help them out just because I possess the skill set that is needed to do that. So we do really try to work across programming.
exactly. So yeah, Victoria mentioned our previous winners, Little Liberia, Hugh, LaFeria, Batch Brewing, Sister Pie. Some of these have to update a little bit, but yes, we've had great successes. And honestly, I want to add a slide probably going next time we do this, of all the alumni who are currently open, because even most recently, one of our finalists was Shell Shock Tacos. They were in our top 10, and they just recently opened up on Willis Street down in Midtown, Willis and Cass. So it's a great opportunity that, you know, they were all allowed to continue to leverage the momentum they gained through this contest.
And I'm just gonna, like, this picture is like one of my favorite pictures, because a lot of these are alumni from 10 different years, kind of working together. And one of the beautiful things about being an alumni is the facilitated peer-to-peer mentorship piece that goes on. So, you know, a lot of these people have come to openings, supported people when they're with their openings. I mean, we've done things like they stood in to help serve tables when the pandemic was difficult and there was nobody there to help people. I was a hostess, I was a bartender. We've done things like that throughout to just make sure that there's a connection and that you're supporting each other, because it's not easy. And it's gotten easier since the pandemic, but it's not really quite back to where it is. So you need these people.
So it takes a village. So you're not on your own no matter what. I mean, I would say no matter what stage you're in right now, or through the Hatch program, you have people here to help. So some key dates, because I know that, hey, this is exactly what you're here for, to learn more about the application, questions about the application, significant things that are taking place throughout the contest. And so I elevated some of these just so for awareness. So applications are currently open. They close on February 16th at noon. We're deliberate at noon because, like, midnight, if something goes wrong or the system shuts down, you know, we're not there to, like, we're not trying to stay up for hours on end. Our staff have lives too. So noon is a great time just to say, hey, everybody is aware. And that is when, if anything does go awry, we're able to quickly troubleshoot that during office hours. So on March 8th, if you do make it to the top 25, you will be notified at that date. And so if once you're moved into the top 25, there's a few key dates that are also highlighted here. So we do 2 workshops to really help you prepare not only for the upcoming voting rounds, if you are selected to move on to that, but also just in your business in general. So that'll be PR and social media. And then we're working on a financial risk and exposure workshop as well to really help you, as if you're going into a brick and mortar establishment, there are many things that are going to change with your business that you might not be aware of at the moment, as whether you're just doing pop-ups or short-term leases. But once you get into like more of a permanent situation, Victoria knows very well of like everything that businesses have to look out for. And so we want to make sure you're preparing ahead of time as you're embarking on that journey. And then as part of the top 25, we are doing something different than we did. Well, last year, this is the first year we did it, but we're doing mood boards. We really want to make sure this is an equitable process for all types of businesses that are looking to like present themselves and move on to the next round. Yes, sometimes food businesses in the past have had a little upper hand because it's like, ooh, it's tasty. I love the food. And then, you know, sometimes the like bookstore be like, I have books, and then versus like a delectable, tasty treat. So we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to present themselves. And the mood boards are a great way to like, and we'll talk about it later, but really showcase your vision for what you want your business to look like. If you are selected to the top 10 after that voting period, then that top 10 event is on April 11th. And then we have 2 rounds of public voting. So we have 1 round of public voting that whittles down the top 10 to the top, the top 25 to the top 10. The top 10 to the top 4. I apologize. And that is April 12th to the 18th. And then we announced the top 4. And then, and you see there's a little gap. That's just so our top 4 are not like consumed with trying to get people to vote. They could focus on working on their pitch for the huge hatch off that's going to happen on May 9th. But it gives a nice little time to like prep and prepare, and then just kind of not only prepare your pitch, but prepare whatever campaign that you're trying to do to embark on votes. And then there's a second voting period that is actually included in the total amount for the judges who are going to vote to the hatch off. So public voting round 2 for the top 4 is May 1st through May 9th, which is also National Small Business Week. And then just also, there's a gap too, because the NFL draft's in town at the end of April. And so we don't want to compete with the draft and have anybody's messages and stress levels, completely getting wiped away via this huge major event that's taking place downtown.
And I would like to just add to that like when you become announced as a top 10, that's when you technically become an alumni of the Hatch Detroit program. And it does mean at that point, you can't reapply once you're announced as a winner. And the reason for that is, and I get that question all the time. So the reason for that is that it offsets any unfair advantage of having already been and having the exposure of a Hatch contestant in a previous year. So I just want to like make sure that's clear. And then also while you're doing your pitch to the hatch off, we align you with alumni that has won that kind of, I really work to make sure it kind of fits your personality or your business type or whatever, so that they can give you tidbits and go over your presentations as well and provide any feedback they had as a winner to help you out.
And then we also have another pitch coaching sessions that come to, in addition to the alumni helping. So this is pretty long. It is on the website. I'm just going to highlight a few things on here. And the contest rules and guidelines are really just to help like define, because this could be very broad and this could like, get slightly confusing and like, lots of scenarios pop up. And so we know these questions come up a lot. And so this will definitely be something I know will come toward the end of this session, that people are always asking about their specific business type and specific business status. But just as a high level, this is for new permanent brick and mortar. So this is like not your expansion of your second location. This is not for franchise opportunities. This is not to open up the next like crunchy chicken place, crispy crunchy chicken, whatever it is, or any of those other franchise opportunities. This is truly for you as an independent business owner to actualize your dream of opening up your first brick and mortar space. But this is the caveat. We know that some of you pop up short-term in brick and mortar spaces. So that's not to count you out, but that's only if you have a short-term lease. So if you only popped up less than 6 months, so you're not like basically experienced the full year of like business ownership in a storefront, this is why we have that 6 months piece. We want short term. If you just kind of experimented, you're like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. I'm applying into this contest. But if you have more than a year, more than 6 months, you're pretty much established. You have a different experience level that goes into it. And you're at a different stage and than what we want to support in this contest. Not a bad thing. That's great. We're still here to support you as TechTown and as a team here to continue on that business journey. But we're really here to help catalyze new businesses and new business storefront opportunities.
And to add to that, there is a reason why that does work within the contest framework and why we differentiate. It's not arbitrary at all. We found that our greatest successes are those that fit within this timeline, either have been, and that's not to exclude the people who have never had a space, who were just thinking about an idea, who never even popped up. We've had plenty of winners that was the case. Metaphysica, she popped up, but under a different name. Live Cycle Delight never popped up. She was just an idea. Busted, which is one of our alumni that didn't win, was just an idea. And Bob Fair was a concept as well. So the sweet spot for us is between concept and not a permanent lease. And it's really important, even as an alumni. The reason I say that is with the permanent lease place, it's very, very complicated to provide you the services that this particular program can best offer, meaning the leveraging of funding, making sure that you're not in a predatory lease, all of those items that we offer as the hundreds or thousands of hours of pro bono fit within that sweet spot of concept to less than 6 months and not a permanent lease. And that, like Christiane said, there's several other programs that are from opposite. This one in particular is just in that area.
I would say the next biggest thing to elevate through here is that you need to submit a budget, and it is available via the downloads. It has, I think it's like this bullet right here, that you are submitting a budget to say how you're going to use the funds, or what's the cost of your business, how it's being utilized during that time. So that is required. If you do not submit a budget with your application, you will not be considered. Like, it is required.
You haven't changed the budget form. Okay, so the budget form that was created, I worked in 2018 on that, and worked with our two major extra funders that basically DDF and Invest Detroit, that often come with this type of business as the loan component. And Prosper Us, there was a whole team of us that developed it. So it's based on kind of the framework in which you would have to already prepare your thinking to get a bigger loan. It's very important to note that you do not have to have a budget to $100,000. In 2024, because I almost said 2023, it's nearly impossible to open a brick and mortar. I mean, I'm going to just say it's impossible to open a brick and mortar business in Detroit, Highland Park, or Hamtramck with $100,000 budget, period. So keeping that in mind, when you're doing that budget, it is not to $100,000. It is to the true budget of what you have. And I will also tell you that in the thousands of these things that I've read, not one person has ever submitted a realistic budget to me. So keep that in mind. You guys are learning the process and you're thinking it through. Not saying that you shouldn't try to do realistic, because you absolutely should try to be as concrete as you are. But what I'm saying is, you don't need to get quotes for your electrical work and try to figure out what the cost of your leases are. But, to some extent, we look at it. We know how much research you've done. If you think you're going to get a lease for $5 a square foot, we know you haven't called anybody and you don't have a clue. So you know about where you're looking for. And that means downtown, you're never going to get a lease for $5 a square foot. So just when you're looking at the budget, don't freak out and try to make it so accurate, but have us be able to see the thought process behind and the research that you've done in understanding what you can at this stage in your business.
100%. Thank you for clarifying that.
No problem.
And then if those who are online and then in the room, we'll answer questions at the end. just because we know it's a lot of information coming at you. So please like type them in the chat if you're there, or just save them as you're coming to mind as we're going through this. And in addition to that, there's just as you know, if you are asked to move on to the semifinalist round, so top 25, we do ask you to sign a participant agreement and also a background check. This is not to preclude you from, like, you know, we're not digging in and everything, but, you know, like if you have, things in your past, that's fine. But it is Comerica and $100,000. And so, you know, it's, if you are accused of bank fraud, that might not be the best fit of someone, and not to judge you for your past, but, you know, if people do Google, and we know people can stalk someone out in 2 seconds here via social media. And so to protect you as an individual, and, you know, you moving on to be a winner, you do not want that heat on you from the public and your peers in this room of like, so-and-so, you know, robbed a bank and they've got this bank money. What's going on? That's really what it is to protect our sponsor, as well as to make sure that you and protect you as well.
And I'll add to that, it's also really, quite frankly, to make sure though, that some of those things, because, you know, it really became apparent during the mortgage crisis that the rules behind what's in your background had to change if we were going to help this particular stage of business be able to open. And I say that because it was rare not to find a foreclosure, but prior to that time in our lives, banks would never loan to you with a foreclosure. And so we use that information to really ensure that you are able to get the money that you need to move forward at this stage and protect you, because it could be that you have something that you can clear up and that next year is better for you in the contest and you spend that 1 year clearing this thing up. The worst situation we could have, and I use the most extreme, but it's the best example, is that you want to open a bar and you are totally going to open this bar, and then we pull your background check and you have 15 DUIs and all these other things. You can never have, it's embarrassing to all of us. You'll never be able to pull a liquor license, and your concept isn't going to work for you. So it's really looking at like those things, and then to protect the credibility of the contest. Correct. Not to call anybody out. You know, you got a D in psych. Not that that would be on a background check. But
exactly. So hopefully that answer clears any of that up. And then I'd say the biggest thing is Victoria alluded to before, like we want you to participate. Like this is a community contest. You're not only joining the community of where you want to open your brick and mortar, but you're also joining the Hatch alumni community and the larger TechTown community. So we want you to be a participant, actively engaged, you know, work with those, you know, who are around you within your neighborhood. And so that is something else that we also like to elevate as well.
And to that point, in that participatory, God, I can't speak, agreement, it will have guidelines for that. There's going to be no negative campaigning. The concept of this is that you come through it, and yes, there's a winner, but that you guys form some bonds that you're very much going to need as you move forward in your business world. And I can't reiterate how important that is. The most successful teams and alumni pieces have really forged friendships during this process and have understood from the get-go that there's one winner, one monetary winner, but 10 true winners. And, you know, the money is a big part of it, but the knowledge that this team at TechTown brings to the table, the exposure that you're going to get through this, the opportunity to test your product around town, to test market the neighborhoods and see if they're really receptive to you. All of that is worth such a huge value amount that, you know, the money is a big part, but the rest is really the prize.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so criteria is, so as we're looking through the application, I would say these are 4 key points that we're constantly thinking of. Sense of community, like I know we keep honing on that, so definitely pick up on that. Catalytic impact. And so, yeah, you want to open up a, you know, your store or your business and storefront, but really, how are you actually going to like be something that's going to drive that community forward? You know, and honestly, I hear this in every, like, we read this in every application, like, I want to employ people. Great. But like, you know, that's fine. We hope you employ people, but like, what else are you going to do to catalyze change or, you know, vibrancy within that neighborhood? Are you doing like sponsoring a street festival? Are you, you know, doing youth classes? And this is just, I'm just throwing things out here. Please do not just put this in here if it does not make sense for your business. Absolutely. Like, if you are not serving youth by any means, just don't say like, I'm going to just do some youth things. No, like, be realistic, but just don't say I'm going to just employ folks and think that's going to be a catalytic change.
And I'm going to add to that just because I've seen so many of these applications through the years. And quite honestly, Christiane has seen them too, because weirdly enough, she's been on that board before this moved over to TechTown to read the 25 and help with that feedback. So there's a lot of shared history here. But one of the things that we really, I think that is so important about community is the success comes from the people who really understand. This is not something that's just like the idea, the entire background of this was to create a walkable community. So if you want to put a business in a community that is completely not the right business for that community, I wouldn't support it, only because your real audience are the residents in that neighborhood. And we really strive to make sure that the residents are engaged, which is why that voting piece is so important. And we used to do community votes and things like that in order for you to meet residents and talk to them and, you know, get their support, because yes, you can get votes from everywhere, but your audience who's going to come to you every single day is going to be where you decide to set up shop. And that's really important to show that in your application.
Absolutely. I mean, and we've even seen it like how votes turn up and people who are eager, those communities definitely show up and show out for the businesses they want.
Yeah. And you know, we've all seen it. Like there's the businesses that everybody from outside of the city swoops in and it's the hot place. And then they move to the next hot place. We want this to be the neighborhood place.
The fourth space.
Third
space. Yeah.
Third space where people do gather outside of their home to be a part of the community. We definitely don't, want to see that come through in the applications.
And then we mentioned these two, like viable business, like, it doesn't make sense. Do you not have like 50 million concepts? Like, I would say the biggest thing, and I'm glad we're doing these sessions because I feel like it helped a lot in some of the applications, especially those who tuned in and came in person, is like, do not try to open up a childcare, barbecue spot, barbershop. Like, that all doesn't make sense. But we've seen people mix some weird things up and it just becomes too convoluted that it's not going to be a viable business. So, make sure your business is viable. It's going to make sense. To Victoria's point, you've done your research. And then the knowledge of your business financials. Once again, we're not judging you. We're not calculating it. We're not saying, oh, this is completely unreal. These numbers aren't like totally there. Like they're like 75, 50% there. We want to see you just put the effort in to actually start to realize what it's going to take to actually open a business. Because yes, this is amazing catalytic investment into a dream or, that you have to actually have a storefront, but you need to know what it's going to take to continue that on and make that investment go further and leveraging the relationships and contacts and additional funding that Victoria can help you get.
And I'm going to add to that again, for people who are late, it is not a budget that is going to be just $100,000. I can't reiterate that enough. It's going to be a budget that, yes, we're going to help you get the grants we can help you get for it. There's going to be still an expectation of a personal investment that you're going to be putting in. And then there's also a very true expectation that you guys have to understand at this point in time, grants are not going to open your business. So you're going to have to come to the grips that every single one of you in this room are going to have to get a loan as well. And I think that we've seen that come more and more, and we've been really lucky in Detroit to have more grants and more opportunities
100%.
available. But as that's happening, the cost to open is also going up. So the grants are not there completely to balance that. And I will argue that the best entrepreneurs, and I can say this with a straight face and hand to God, the best entrepreneurs are the ones that do take a loan out because they have so much skin in the game, they can't afford to fail. And it comes out in their products, it comes out in their marketing, it comes out in the passion, it comes out everywhere. So that's just something to be aware of.
So back to the example of mood boards. There's more instruction if you're able to get to that round. But it's really is a way to demonstrate what your business looks like. So if you make it to the top 25, you can Google mood boards, but really it's a way to say, here, this is my vision for what I think my space is. What am I actually serving, or what am I offering? What's my services? What's my products? Your look, your colors. Honestly, it allows your whole personality, your business personality, your brand to really live through a visual. And so that is why we did mood boards. And actually looks super cool. I would say the size of a science project board. So 48 by 36. I can't remember the dimensions, or 24 by 48. But people arranged them different ways. They put stuff on it. And honestly, I thought it was the coolest spot. I mean, I miss the samples, but at the same time, it was a great opportunity for, everyone to really, show themselves through this work, and not just, through the paper that we read, to review your application. So the fun part, we're going to quickly just go through the application just so you can see what's going on. I'm going to stop the screen for 2 seconds so I can pull this up. Application, share. Oops, wrong one. So as we said, we have the contest rules, application questions. So we're just going to quickly kind of go through 29 days left to enter, people, 29 days. But it's a great, it's a pretty standard. Everything I talked about in the guidelines and overview is listed here as well. And then there's additional rules. One question that did come up that I answered via email, but I wanted to raise up here. Someone was wondering about the general conditions of participation, and saying that, if you move on, all media, basically, did we own their business? It's no, we don't own your business. Basically, we can use photos of you, which we hope you do. You will allow us, because that provides more publicity to your business and to you at that stage. And then it says, all the submissions, forms, and stuff become property of us. Honestly, we don't want to keep all these mood boards, so it goes back to you if you're at that stage. And then if you need a copy of your application, we're more than happy to provide that. Honestly, it's just standard legalese, but we're not as strict on that in terms of we possess everything about you. Not and once you submit it to us, no, we don't want that responsibility. We don't have enough storage, all that to go to maintain.
And to that point, I think one of the things that you should feel confident in is that not only do we not own that stuff, we don't share it. So, you're not this isn't gonna go somewhere other than TechTown.
And we're not,
and the people who are reviewing
and your ideas are confidential. Basically assume that we have signed NDAs with you by you submitting this application. We're not taking your ideas. If anything, we want to work with you to help you move that idea further along, as I mentioned before, regardless of this contest. So note that all trade secrets, whatever you put in the application, is yours and yours alone. I don't want to say we don't care. That is not our business to, be in your business like that. We want to support your business, not be in your business. Oh shoot, I have to log in. Damn.
Oh, I know, this is so
hold on. I'll do a dummy account.
there you go.
But I might remember because it's gonna say y'all gonna see the back end if I do the other one.
Did the application change?
Not really.
So it's usually divided into quite a few different categories, which Christiane's going to pull up. One is about your company information. Another may be about whether, how are you, do you have partners? And if you do have partners, do you have a partnership agreement? Two things are really important about that. You're not required to have the partnership agreement to apply, but you will be required to have a partnership agreement to move forward. And the reasons for that is oftentimes, you come into this, it's exciting, you're all best friends, there's no money to the thing. We're never going to break up. You're going to maybe break up. It's not you're married to that person. You got to look at it that way. So in business, because it is such there is such a monetary piece to that. you should have with a partner, not only an agreement about how you're going to enter into that work together, but also how you're going to exit that work together. And I think that's really an important piece. So again, just like with a lease, you don't want to sign away something too quickly when you don't know what you're doing, but you want to make sure that you have a situation in which you are, when you're in the best of it, in the thrust of the excitement of opening your business, that there's no judgment. You guys are just the best of best, that you really come to a great conclusion on how to move in and out of that business and how things are going to work. So that's going to be something that's asked on it. And most of the questions, are you?
Sorry, I realized I forgot.
Yeah, so there are questions like that. We asked to list the names of the people. We asked you to decide a type of business. There are some issues with service and what that really means. Like Christiane mentioned, it's brick and mortar, but it's also when you're thinking about this particular contest of opening, not other things that go on in TechTown, but with this particular piece, it should be something that's open to the public. So we've gotten some requests like, well, I'm a lawyer. No, that's great that you're a lawyer, but maybe you shouldn't get money from Hatch to be a lawyer, because you have a set group of people and not every resident of the city can walk in and purchase something or do something or engage in that. So I think keeping that in mind, service in this world was like Metaphysica, could be eyeglass store, something that there is no requirement to walk in the door
and make a purchase.
I can do it on my own. Okay. So that's one of them.
So just also when describing your business, like please describe your business. Like think of it as like a 30-second elevator pitch. You know, like you can add more in there, that's fine, but don't make less. Like I'm doing bad answers. Please do not take my
that
quick
is a huge point.
Do not put use my examples as I'm quickly filling this out live as a example of how to fill this out. Because the more the better. If you don't provide a lot of information, we don't know about you, and that honestly will probably be not put you in a strong place to be considered to go on to further rounds.
Absolutely. Because we get quite a few of these, and we want something just like Christiane said, elevator pitch, something that is going to really grasp our attention and make us really want to move forward. I mean, we read every single one of them anyhow, but you know what I'm saying.
Exactly. And know your target audience. Don't say like the world. I mean,
Right.
and so me as a marketer, and in my background's in marketing, that is like, honestly, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. They're like, I want to serve the world, or like everyone is my demographic. We know specifically not everyone's your demographic, and I'm not trying to give bad examples on the fly right now, but just know that you probably have a very specific demographic. You don't have to like hone it all the way in to this persona. But don't say like everyone who lives on the east side is my demographic. Like, no, like have a little bit more background in terms of who you're selling to. We ask you what products and services you're selling, because we realize a lot of people didn't tell us what they were selling despite them filling out their business description and stuff. So we please tell us what you actually are offering to the public. Do you have any revenue generating? Once again, a lot of these questions are not to like penalize you or set you up for failure. This is just purely so we know what's going on. You're not getting deducted by points by any means. Like we don't assign points to these questions. Like if they answer this way, it's going to be this point. If they answer that way, it's this point. It's really the content of your idea and how well are you presenting that idea.
And then to add to that, the more information provided also allows us to determine if maybe you aren't right for this, but are right for something else. And so the more information we have, we can steer you along your journey. If it's not here, I think we're all committed to making sure the applicants get to the next phase that they need to. So having that information as clear as we can does help with that.
Absolutely.
This location piece always drives me crazy.
I know, but
because everyone thinks that's a requirement. You are not required to know where you want to be.
No.
And that comes true with what we said about earlier about location and having a site already. I would say with complete honesty, probably only the people who own their own building have a site that's going to happen.
Correct.
There are going to be so many leases you're going to have to review. There's going to be so many things you're going to see, so many times you think this is the one and then you realize it's not until you see the one. It's like buying a house if you haven't done that. you fall in love with the first place and then you realize it's not the right one. That's going to be a process. But what this does do for us is help understand a general location, and it helps us align what your budget is like, helps us to align what you think your marketing is for, all of those things. It helps us see how much you thought you put into it. And again, it also helps us put you in contact with somebody later on to move you forward.
So I would say, so we have option for unsure, which is perfectly fine. We also, if you have Highland Park and Hamtramck, and so just keep that in mind. Why? Because my business is awesome. This is not a good answer.
Well, we've had people that have answered it this way, that simply they have lived in this community forever, and they used to have a candy store down the street, or they used to have this really important third place that no longer is there, and they want to reopen it, or they want to, because they're residents in their community, they want to build sustainable change. So those are all really great reasons. You know, it's probably the best answer is probably not to make $1 million and rule the world, because again, we have that community component. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us to understand why it's important.
Right. For you. So once again, these are terrible answers. Do not copy these. But you know, we also want to know your why. So like, why are you doing this? Like, what's going to fuel you? What's going to keep you up? You know, on the tough days when you might only have one customer or no customers, on the snowy days when you don't want to get out of bed because there's like 6 inches on the ground, but like, hey, someone might be expecting your service. And so we want to know what's going to continue to fuel you, keep you up, keep you going when times are tough, but also when times are great. And so that is why we're also asking you to tell us your why. Why are you doing this? Because
that passion is really something that comes forward with those questions. And the passion, like Christiane said, is what is going to sustain you. If it's just because, there is not one successful small business I've seen at your, like this level that has been able to succeed based on money, like the desire for money alone, because this is not it's not a make you rich scheme, right? We know that yes, you can live a good life. Yes, you can have, make money. Yes, you can, improve neighborhoods and things like that. But the reality is, you have to have that fire and that passion to get through the process, because it's not for weak of, and I will add to that just real quickly. What's really kind of cool about the contest is that we have had people, you know, we say, oh, 57 people have opened and we've had over 100 go through, but it's not that we did fail those other people. They have gone through the contest and have decided they do not want to open the business. They thought they had the passion. They didn't spend any money, which is an amazing opportunity for you to recognize within themselves that they're not ready for it at this point, that maybe the product isn't something that people want, that they just can't handle the hours, all of those things. So I think, you know, when you're looking at it, kind of take that into some consideration too, that they thought they had the passion and found out that they didn't. So it's a kind of a cool thing that you get that for no money.
Right. And no matter what, all of this is a success. Like success comes in many forms, whether you complete the process, whether you learn during the process, it might not be right for you. Like none of this is a failure. We're going to do questions at the end. Yeah. And so we also asked what steps you've taken to, you know, establish your business. You know, just let you know, want to know if you did your research. Have you tried this out? Have you popped up somewhere? You know, or if even it's just idea, but like, hey, I did research on that idea versus like, I woke up one day and I thought I want to open an ice cream stand. Great. But, you know, we'll see throughout your application how much, you know, if you just woke up one day and decided you want to apply with the ice cream stand thought, or you actually did some research going into establishing that ice cream stand.
And there is also an opportunity later on in the application to get into like what groups you've worked with, because there is such a great model for support in the city. And we do work with each other. So like there are a lot of, that's really an important piece. So if you have worked with the Prosper Us, or you have done something like with Build or anything like that, we will, that's a good thing. We also have partners that will be telling us about your work with them and helping and feeding it in. But there is a part to like identify where you've done it. But if you want to go into detail in any of these places, it's not a bad idea.
Exactly. So the point that Victoria was raising when I was filling out the application and trying to get a login, we asked about how many owners do you have. This is a logic-based question. So if you pick one, it's going to pop up place for you to enter in that information. Also to ask, what's the other person's role in the your business, and do they even know that you're applying for that and that you have their consent to move on? Because as she said, last thing we know is for someone to apply and they have a whole owner debacle come up because they did without someone's knowing.
Oh, and I forgot to make one point earlier, and I'm so sorry, but where it said primary person in the business, that's like really an important piece. It doesn't necessarily have to be the owner right now for that particular business information at the top of it. The primary person is kind of the person for this contest where they're going to be receiving all the emails and being able to respond to that. So if it isn't like, it might be that you put the email of the financial manager for your company or your daughter because she's really good on email or something like that, that's fine. But it has to be the person that Christiane and the team can reach out to and get information from. That's different than this question, I guess, that she just went.
So once again, we want to know your vision. So this is a little different than, your why, like, why are you, what is your business vision? What are you trying to do? What's your 5-year, 10-year long-term plan for operating in these places, as well as, how do you know you'll find your unique niche for the customers? To Victoria's point, why are you going to set up shop at this place? And how do you know that the customers are going to be there for you? Once again, knowing who your customers are, knowing who your demographic is, and then why are you actually going to be in that community? Because, like, are they actually going to be the ones to help keep your lights on when, the fly-by-nights come and go and they leave you? And sorry not to sound dreary or like depressing, but business is up and down. And so just to keep that in mind. Also want to know what your hours of operation. Does it meet up with community needs? I will always give this as my example whenever I'm talking about customers and businesses and making sure that your customer meets up with your business. Like, how many of you try to go to a bank at 6 o'clock? Are they open? No, but we're like stuck because we have to do that. Your dentist's office, your doctor's office, no one's open. That the core things that you typically need are never open past those hours. And so how frustrated you get with trying to like schedule an appointment or get out some money. You don't want your businesses to have that same frustration with you, that they're not going to be able to patronize you and support you if they are working, 9 to 5 or whatever shift they are, making sure that that core audience is able to actually come and do business with you.
And then to add to that, I think it's also that we don't, I don't think that you're going to have an idea. If you're looking to have just a Saturday every other week business model, again, that's fine. It's great, but it might be that that's for another program and not for this one, because there is going to be an expectation of some consistent, times of operation, and not just like once monthly meetups.
So where do you see your business in 5 years? So this goes a little bit deeper than the first one. And so just be mindful, like, really, what's a 5-year plan? Do we think you're going to open like 20 locations in 5 years? Maybe, be realistic. Like, hey, I want to just succeed. I want to, have, 20 full-time employees on payroll, not just 1099 workers. Think about where realistic your business could be in 5 years. And then also, then you can go big vision, picture vision after that. If you want to conquer the world, great. But
it's not a requirement.
It's definitely not a requirement. Like, this is not about who can get the biggest, the fastest. No, like, as we said, we're all about community and what's your impact in the community. So,
and again, the most successful ones, that's what they do. It is, maybe they have 2 stores, or maybe they expand one side of their store like La Feria did to have a wine side, or maybe they have couple locations and they're a little bit different, but there's not like, it's not to develop the next Jimmy John's to, there's a place for that, but maybe it's not this part.
Correct.
This contest.
And so talking about the budget. So yes, we asked about your bigger budget later on, but we also want to know specifically how you're going to use the $100,000. And so, like, are you using it to build out the space? Are you buying inventory? Are you getting a new website? Whatever that is, thinking about specifically how that $100,000 would be allocated. Yes, this is just kind of hypothetical because things definitely change. But we just want to get an idea that you have thought about, where that money is going to go. And it's also if it's realistic. Like, you're not getting a whole HVAC system for $5,000. You know what I mean? Like there's certain costs that come in that we want to make sure that you're paying attention to.
And to add to that, one of the reasons that that was added in is for us to see where gaps are in financing. So it allows you to identify an area that maybe you've noticed that a grant doesn't cover, or that you can't get with a loan or something like that. It does help us identify trends. And I think maybe now is the time to say, to make sure everyone knows that there's at the end of this journey, you win the $100,000. Christiane does not hand you $100,000 check. You have that fake little check for a long, and that's what you get. And we sit down, we work out a contract with you. And again, all of this is based on two things and two things only: protecting the winner's money and make sure that you are able to translate it to more money and that it doesn't get lost. Because I know sometimes I have money in my bank account and then I look the next day and I'm like, what the heck did I do? It's to make sure that you're leveraging that money for other things. It's also to protect our sponsor, to make sure that we're being mindful, stewards of their investment. And it's really to make sure, our winner from 2 years ago just started to take a draw on her money, because it's at that time that now she needs to put it in. So she had never used anything. And that's the only way that the loan process is working for her. So it's really to protect you, but I just want to be really clear, because you're not getting a check right away. But
Because also, yes,
and
exactly.
It's really flexible in how you do it. Like we work with you, Christiane works with you on, what it would look like from a build out perspective, and you get cuts, and it's pretty awesome. And then the other thing that's really awesome about not getting that check right away is you don't have to declare an income of $100,000 when you're not going to open for 2 years. So it puts the tax liability remains with the nonprofit on that, and it does protect you from a different perspective. So there's a lot of really good benefits to that, but I just want to make sure everyone's clear.
Thank you. Total budget to open, as you talked about that, including build out costs. So that's more than the $100,000. Like we know your $100,000 is not going to build out the whole space. Occasionally it may give you close, but you still need additional resources. We want to know how much you've actually secured already. If you hey, I've just been working and saving, great. You got a windfall from the lottery or at the casino, great. You're putting that toward it. We don't care where it came from. We just want to know you have a little bit of skin in the game. Investments that you made in your business. This was a really bad answer, but clearly I just put something in there. Just like, oh, I bought some stuff, but sweat equity also counts too. Like, if you're like, hey, I'm building this out, like I'm building my shelving for my business, hey, that's an investment.
It's actually a great example, because 27th Letter Books, they had built out some shelving that they were using. And when they first opened, that was what they ended up using for they also purchased some shelving from a library and some other things online. So there were investments that they were able to have in the room of shelving.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's an important piece depending on what the business is. So
you don't have to know if you're buying or leasing the space. You can say unsure. Be realistic about square footage. It's quick, are you really going to need, a lot of square feet for what you're going to do? Because the more square feet comes into play, the higher the costs go up. And so, we start to look like, oh, they want 10,000 square feet, but they only, they're trying to only have $1,000 lease, a month lease or at that place, and plus whatever systems and things are needed. So we do take that into account. It is not a ding against you, but once again, we're trying to help you be realistic about what it's going to take. And so it's not a shock.
And it also helps us define the size of the business and what your budget's going to be. Because I think the sweet spot for this contest is really a budget that's about $250,000 to about $650,000. It's not really higher than that. That's gone up considerably in time. It used to be about $125,000 to about $450,000 historically. So I'm saying that that's usually the sweet spot of a person for us to be able to provide the maximum benefit through this type of contest. And that usually does fit within the 1,500 to 2,500 square foot range, maybe slightly higher, typically not lower. And the only time I've ever seen it work for a 10,000 square foot piece is when it's like a Fulling warehouse or the Detroit Dart Club, when most of that space is unbuilt out and in up and coming neighborhood.
Mhm.
So there is still an opportunity to be within that budget for a big space, but it's a totally different concept than I'm gonna do a 10,000 square
Downtown.
foot downtown restaurant. That's not our business. Yeah.
Also added in here, so you know, where your estimated what your lease cost amount is, or your purchase or your rents or mortgage costs. And then we also want to know if you actually put thought into the cost of the units that you're providing. So the service units, you know, and then the cost for those goods too, and how much you're going to sell them for. Just so like, you know, hey, I want to open an ice cream place, but like I'm only gonna, you know, I'm gonna buy the ice cream for $2 and I'm selling it for $6. Okay, you put some thought into it versus like, you know, I'm not going to give a bad example. So yes. Oops, I forgot to say. Number for estimated open. What? Oh, I put a comma. So I guess you cannot put commas. So it doesn't like that. Okay. Save in advance. So we asked about Wayne State. So this is a newer question only because we are part of Wayne State. And so Wayne State likes to elevate their people, alumni, you know, former faculty, whatever you may be. That's just for us to help, you know, share with them that if you're moving on, or hey, we had 30 Wayne State alums apply for Hatch this year. They're gonna love it. And also they'll probably be like highlighting, hey, these people might wanna highlight you in their upcoming press about, hey, you want to open a business, or how they can support you. So
Wayne State's been really working hard on that entrepreneurial program over the years too. So it does like tie us in really nicely with, I like that question.
And then, yeah, the other questions are just, do you want to work with us? Do you need help with anything else? Because we want to make sure that we provide you support no matter what stage you're at. What other business support organizations have you worked with? And then just everything else is more demographics about you. So
About the business.
yes.
So if you have, if your business has an Instagram, if your business has a URL, that kind of stuff. That said, though, I think some people had their businesses under their personal URLs and things like that. That's fine too. And some people, quite frankly, never had a Twitter account in their lives. So if you don't have a Twitter account, do not like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. It is for us to just kind of two things, follow you and see what, you know, have an extra check on what your work is if you have that. And two, be better able to share information with you as we go forward.
And so there is a place for you to upload any information. So yes, the budget, this is required. Once again, that's why they're whoever's on here. Sorry, I hate this. So that is required. Once again, if you do not submit this completed budget form, your application will be automatically
You want to go through it?
declined.
We'll
Yes,
out.
I will. And then there's also opportunity, you know, a business plan is not required, you know, photos are not required, but some people like to just share everything under the sun. It's up to you. It's not going to make or break your application by any means. Sometimes honestly, to be honest, it's a pain sometimes to look through all that other stuff. We want to see the core of your idea actually come through the application in general. For you to, you know, bombard us with everything that you've possibly done. Okay, great. But then we might say, well, you might not be right for this contest. We might be able to help you out in a different way. So it's like I said, it's not a ding or a bad thing, but do not feel required to provide any of this additional supplemental information other than the budget for this application.
So I will say that the reason that did come about to give you this opportunity, it's my fault. I did it as a generalized slush fund because I recognize that when we did the contest, that a lot of times the questions that we ask, my brain works one way. So I developed questions and we developed these questions for the way kind of when I was doing it, the way my brain worked. That's not necessarily how an entrepreneur feels that they can tell their story. So this was an opportunity for your brain, if you didn't feel like you could do it with the questions that were asked upon you, for you to have the flexibility to answer those questions in the way that you needed. I hope that makes sense.
100%.
Because Yeah, it's just, it's like, we can ask questions and you're like, I don't know how to answer this. And so you will answer it, but it might not be as great as a photograph that you have of you engaging with the community. And again, not all of us are writers. So the other piece is that this gives you an opportunity to show it in a different way. As far as a business plan is concerned, I hated adding that part, but I know a lot of people love to see the full business plan. I know that Christiane, when she said what she said, is because it is, you will have to eventually have a big business plan. Doing a business plan is a painful, horrible experience that I have done too many times in my life. And the first ones that usually come through, we still have to redo. So we know that going in, it's not a requirement for you to have it. If you do have it, it's a nice to have for us to see, but knowing full well that you're probably going to have to redo this thing. And so don't like freak out from now to 29 days and get a business plan together. That's not.
It's not required at all. And then like you might have a business model canvas. That's fine too. But like, once again, not required. Honestly, I care more about how you answer within the application than trying to flip through and download and
Forecast for 7 years.
Correct.
I mean, God.
So do you want to talk about the
Yeah,
the budget form?
I do. So this is the piece I was telling you at the beginning that we worked with all of those kind of teams to have as a starting point that kind of collects what you will need to have in order to get a loan from some of the other loan people out there. So when we're going through these things, your total square footage, this is again going to be what you think it's going to be, so Christiane, if you want to put 2,500 square feet.
I know I was trying to like make it bigger, so I apologize.
Oh, okay.
I
There's one thing that is just the most important thing you can do on this budget page, and that is line number 8, which says, put the name of your business here. Now, I can't tell you how many times people don't do that, and then the budgets get messed up. I wish we could put that. We can't make it a required piece because it's a downloaded form that you upload. But if you take one thing away from today, please remember to put your company's name in line 8. It's incredibly the most important thing. So put your pet store in there or in line 7.
No, it's a view only. I'm sorry.
Oh, she can't put it in. So it's
yeah, because you have to download it, and that's the point. So no one's messing this up. You download it.
Right.
So but just to look, then yeah.
Just that's like, please. As you go up a little bit for me. So it's total square footage, 2,500. She can't put anything in. For each of these things, we should not see anything that's a 0. Unless you are a CPA, unless you are a lawyer and you're doing your own drafts and things like that, unless you are a professional marketer, which a lot more people are these days, or you're an architect, every single one of these things need to be, or an insurance agent. That's all the basics that you will need for opening a business. So there should be some number there. These others allow you to change those fields into what those soft costs will be that you intend to have, whether it's advertising or different things like that. You can obviously put your numbers in for that. What this soft cost piece does is it divides the square footage by the subtotal. I'm nerding out here to kind of give us an idea of how much you're going to be spending given the space size. Property acquisition, if you're going to buy it, if you're going to have to put a lease deposit on it, whatever that is, it's again general thing, but there has to be a number there because you got to have space. Demolition, that could actually be a 0 if there is no internal demolition to do, but most likely it won't be. Build out costs are definitely, unless it is like you're walking in turnkey and you're ready to go, there's always going to be numbers in those things. HVAC might not be the same, and fire suppression, depending on the type of business you have, whether or not you have to have a deep fryer or not. Those are kind of things that but if you do need it, you need it. So putting that in. Sound installation, that may or may not be something. Yeah, building permitting, everything else is pretty much there. There are a lot of others in there, so it allows you to tweak it to your business. And then we go to the equipment pieces. So again, it's the same thing. These will be items that you may or may not have and you can add to. I don't think it allows you, we do have to change one thing
Okay.
on this form.
Okay. That's fine.
Contingency no longer is 15% of hard cost budget. The contingency now is required to be 35% of the hard cost budget. And that happened after the pandemic with the cost of goods increasing so much and the unsteadiness of supply chain demand, all that stuff. So the requirements from our lenders are now to have a 35% contingency in.
Sure.
But that will automatically add to it. Again, it doesn't really matter for this purpose too
It's an
much.
FYI.
It's an FYI. I told you I was nerding out. That's about it.
All right. So, that was pretty much our application. So now for the fun part of questions. So, I know that was a lot of information. We just kind of walked through it.
I'll do one in the audience and one
Yeah,
on the,
I was gonna pull up the
web.
chat.
yeah,
um,
on the chat. I could do that. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we asking them to put it in the chat or are they raising their hand?
There's a bunch in the chat already.
Okay, so.
So,
Or you got it.
I got it.
Okay.
One is, are private office leases considered a commercial lease? I mean, technically, if no one can walk into your office in a commercial build, this is one of these like very hypothetical questions. I would say if you're doing transactions from your commercial office space, that private office space in that building, then technically, no. Like you are not eligible because literally anybody can walk up off. Like the goal is like, hey, I'm a customer. Let me open your door. I don't have to schedule an appointment. I have to do all these other things. I can just come in and try to
So-
arrange.
Oh, yeah, I would agree. The only thing I would say that is not the case is if you are a food truck
Correct. Yes.
that happens to have a lease for your office.
Correct.
And you want to open a brick and mortar place. That's an example of having a lease for your office. That's not going to change, but not having a place where you do business
Correct.
as a lease.
There you go.
Is anybody here? Go ahead.
Okay, I'll learn another question. You have to secure all the money, for the project, for the district?
No.
All right.
Oh,
Let's see.
let's get one more.
We'll bounce back and forth. Can the building be constructed or does the building have to be standing? It could be either one. So as long as it's a brick and mortar building that you'd be going into, that's fine. I did have a question before. Someone said they had office upstairs, but they were trying to actually open up their storefront downstairs of like, a 2-story building. And I said that was eligible because you were doing business up here, but you weren't at that storefront level. And that might have been a totally different.
Yeah, it's almost like the office.
You
that's
might have
like-
been like constructing upstairs, but not selling. And then you're trying to actually
like
have
the
a
brick
space.
and mortar thing of the food truck with the
Correct.
office. Yeah. That's great.
Excuse me, so somebody asked a question.
Oh, you can't hear? Yeah, sorry, I
Yes.
forgot the blowers over there. Absolutely.
So that question was, the question over here was, would a childcare facility be eligible? And the answer is no, because not everybody can just come off the street and be able to partake in that, even if as a day pass, opportunity. And then I think you were next.
But I would say if you have like a child play skate place, that's different.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yes.
You had a question.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned the, background checks. Do you also do credit checks?
No.
Well,
No,
actually, it's
yes,
not a credit
credit
check.
yeah.
But it does pull some elements of that, meaning,
But it doesn't affect your credit score.
it
And
doesn't affect your credit score and
we don't see numbers.
we don't see numbers. Exactly everything she just said. We don't see numbers. Again, I know when we spoke about why that was necessary, it was really just to, ensure that you were able to get a loan. If there are maybe some concerns about anything that you guys have with that, we won't be pulling it, but I'm sure that Christiane can assign somebody to talk to you confidentially and we can see if that would be a problem. If like, let's say you have a score of 100 and you're like, oh God, probably that would be a pretty big indication that you couldn't get a loan. But other than that, we don't pull numbers.
So really what we see in it, it's like, I mean, your social media, like, you know, like if you have a newspaper article about you, like there's some things that the company that's hired, so we don't do it.
Like felony type things.
Yeah, but
That's
if,
not-
but nothing,
It's a package we buy. And it doesn't include, like, we'll never see a number.
mm-mm.
So if you aren't, let's say you do have a credit score or whatever, and you're not eligible to get a business loan, is it something that you should be ready to apply for?
You just have to be mindful of how you would need to go about.
Yeah, I think
Applying
that
funds.
with that would be something that you should, I mean, any of you guys, if that is a concern, I would say reach out to one of us and we can talk to you about that, because the worst thing to do is waste time for you at this point. In a case that somebody did have a thing of 100, what I would love to see is that somebody came to us and we looked at things together and maybe helped identify how you could increase that thing for next year. And then maybe next year would be a better time to apply.
But honestly, we don't see that at this
But we don't
stage.
see it.
Like, this is like, honestly, go for your idea first. And
Yeah.
then as we go through the process, like, and if your idea is so amazing, like, we'll figure out a way. Yes, there's a link for video. So she has it there for supporting information. Can you submit a video? Yes, you can submit a videos link. Yep. Back online, can real estate budget include down payment for a site? Yeah, absolutely. So can the real estate budget include a down payment for a site?
I think the wording on that budget was securing the site,
Mhm.
so yes.
Let's see, we'll go on this side of the room. I said business model canvas. So he he doesn't require a business plan, but trying to figure out what else was added to that. It's really just like, it's not required. Honestly, like we really care more about your idea and what you're presenting throughout the application than actually needing to present us with a business plan right now.
So I think one of the things that I used to say sometimes with that question is that, you know, all of these opportunities have are best, like within the city for entrepreneurs, are best served at different stages in your development. And the Hatch concept, hence the name, was really at the beginning of that phase, not at the end of that phase. So the question that came about having all of your funding, the reason that's not a requirement is because this is supposed to help you leverage funding, leverage commitment, leverage your like identity within a community and all that thing. So we consider Hatch as the beginning, not the pure beginning, because really what's the pure beginning is something more like build. And you've gone through like maybe a process to do things, but it's the beginning of your opening phase, not the end of your opening phase. So again, when even as a contestant, if you have all of your funding and all you're missing is $100,000, we are probably not your best people. But that said, TechTown can help you find the best place for you. We're more the people that like, man, I had this food truck, I got $20,000. I want to open this restaurant. I need $100,000 because, you know, there's a requirement of how much you have to have down to get a loan. And then you're able to leverage that to get a Motor City match amount, to get a this amount, to get a that amount, and we just layer. So it's really the beginning founding block. Are we on?
No, we're back again.
Okay.
So can you use the own land for urban gardens versus brick and mortar, or can you attain a lease for urban gardens? So I would say if you have like a garden stand, I mean, this is a very unique question, but I think it's also moving toward, like, still consider your garden being a physical storefront space. It might not be maybe a insulated full season building, but think about how can people continue to patronize you as often as they possibly can.
So I have actually an answer to that
Go ahead.
because we had Coriander
Oh,
Farm and
yes.
Garden as one of our people. And the answer to that was the money that they would have won for the Hatch piece. There was a brick and mortar component that had to exist, and it did have to be a full year commitment to
Mhm.
that brick and mortar with some on and off things there. It did not include the purchase of the property. And quite frankly, the reason it didn't is because there are a lot of opportunities.
Mhm.
People use that money to like buy property, then they sell it to somebody for $1 million. We're not trying to like support your development careers and aspirations on becoming landowners, but business owners. So that's why that brick and mortar component is a piece. So when they applied, the land acquisition was not part of their potential win. It was the brick and mortar space that they were going in that would have gotten that cash. So I think, yeah, okay. You were behind first and
Okay, thank you. Two quick questions. One, I noticed when you all listed the districts, I may have just overlooked it, downtown Detroit, let's say in the heart of like Forest Hill. Is that not a realistic district for like the sweet spot that you discussed earlier? Is that kind of what I wasn't?
it was in there.
Yeah, downtown was in there.
It was in there. I think you probably thought that we had, because the gray areas were Highland Park and Hamtramck.
It's just
No,
the
It was
map.
the
of-
map, but they're listed underneath as an opportunity for you to address.
Okay.
The district, what is it, 5?
Mhm.
Is downtown. And it's definitely, I mean, you might own a building downtown, we don't know. And so that would make you very possible to have something, or you might have a relationship with somebody who does, and they really want your business in there, but they want you to fund it and they'll give you a sweetheart lease. I mean, we don't know that. So it's definitely an opportunity.
Okay. And then I guess, my other quick question was, in regards to revenue. If your business is generating revenue, but isn't profitable, you still want that number in regards to what actual sales and.
To be asked.
We don't ask sales. We just ask for like what your cost of goods sold and like what's your cost of like what are actually you're selling, how much do those cost on average. And so, but
Yeah.
the thing is not to say you can't add any of that information into your application.
It's not.
It's not required. All right, back online. Let's see, temporary leases for 6 months, mixed for seasonal outside events for some local vendors when urban gardens are open long enough to move into permanent location or not. Really don't understand that question. I'll come back to that. So are these services available for free to help small business scale, or are these services that are just free for the contest? So we have set of services that are open to anyone in the public via TechTown. And then those who are in the top 10 work with Victoria and have kind of like another scale up version of assistance that she provides.
And then if you're not a top 10 and you go through the process with TechTown or any other organization, you can apply again next year.
Correct. We'll go over here.
Back to the budget, is that, the full budget of the project? Or is that to stay within $100,000?
That's the full budget of the project.
See that as a viable application towards that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct. We'll just bounce over here, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, so there's a like we said, we just trying to get a picture of what you're trying to do. So it says own, lease, unsure. So you can even be unsure, that's fine too.
I'll get to you after we get.
No, I was reading Michelle's question. So basically, if you do win, so one, if you do not make the top 10, you made the top 25, but you didn't make the top 10, you can reapply in a year to try to win. But once you get to, if you make it to the top 10, you're considered alumni, and then you're eligible for the I would say upgraded services via Victoria, but not necessarily upgraded. It's
And
just
I
more.
will not help anybody who's a 25, and not to be mean, but just because, well, maybe now I could, because
Yeah.
things are different.
It's a little different, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but back in the day, I would be.
She didn't have
"Yeah, talk to
capacity."
you," because not just capacity, I'd be like, I was also making more decisions, and it felt that I was helping a 25. It was giving them an unfair advantage.
But we're
So
different.
We're
Yeah.
different now, so she just tells me what to do.
But also, yeah, so the funding, as she mentioned, is around pretty much until you're ready to access it. It's sitting in our bank account, just waiting for you to draw down.
And then we had a question.
Yeah, question. It's strictly answers. It's pretty much strength of answer, like for each one, especially I would say the narrative ones, like did you actually answer it? Did you, provide information? Like, think of it like a scale 1 to 5, like 1 didn't really do anything. 5, like, oh my gosh, like I really get it. This concept is strong. And really, I would say go, and we'll share this presentation and recording, but really those 4 key points that we mentioned.
No. Actually, that's a great question, because the way it was set up, and I think you still kept it, is that everything is the 1 to 5 and no one is more important than another. You get points within each of those on how you answer it. So nothing.
And
is
it's purely the narratives. We don't score any of the other questions. So it varies based on per round. So it's a mixture of community members, basically people who are in the, like we call the small business ecosystem here. And so they review it, and then we have different groups of folks for each round. So some
and we don't tell you who they are, and that's purposeful, not to be, I mean, it seems mean, but also it's to protect them, and to protect you and to protect the contest, because we really just want to make sure that, 1, we're dedicated to having the right people in the room. 2, want to make sure that, they don't get bombarded with questions and kind of be like, hey, and then it kind of sets something off. And it also, some of them like recuse themselves on their own if they need to, or feel that they need to based on any information. So it's a good group of people. And like I said, for the 12 years that it's been done, I think we've really shown many really wonderful people out there. And we have, the mission of TechTown is one that guides that process. And so did the mission from Hatch. And one of the reasons I chose TechTown to move the programming to is because our missions align so much. So when you look at, what the mission of TechTown is, that's going to show forth in who we have making the decisions.
I'm going to quickly run through these 2 questions because they're pretty simple. So to locate a blank copy of the project budget to download, it's in the application. You just download it from there. It's going to pull up that Word Excel sheet online. You just download it from that Excel sheet.
And put the name of your business on line 7.
And then there is no word count for the questions. And so you can write and write and write. But just also, I would say, in the words of our Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, which is also connected to us, which is also another opportunity to continue working on your business if you're at that latter stage, is that you want it effective, efficient, and compelling, are like kind of like the 3 ways that they say anytime you're speaking or writing: efficient, effective, and compelling. So don't just say something to say something with a purpose and, meaning behind it, but also in a way that isn't going to make someone like completely zone out.
And I used to give a range for that. It, even though it wasn't in there, I'd say the best comments are between 500 words to, 2,000 words max, because that gives you an opportunity to.
Any other questions today? So the question is, can an established e-commerce brand be eligible? Yes, because you're e-commerce, you're not a brick and mortar yet.
So it would, but no.
No, yeah.
I would have said no. It would be yes if you were an established e-commerce brand, as long as you were planning to become a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make that.
Yeah.
Clarification. I missed that.
That's okay. And as long as it's not currently also doing brick and mortar and e-commerce. Yes. As long as you, you 100%. So the question was, if anybody had gone through Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business, are they eligible? Honestly, as long as you didn't apply to this and made the top 10, you're eligible, and also meet all the other criteria. But we don't care what program you've been through.
So there is somebody online. I noticed that they didn't put their questions in the into the chat. So do we want to ask Sherry to unmute herself?
So go ahead. Yeah, Sherry, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hi, it's actually Cherie.
Sorry.
No worries. So there's 2 things. One, just going back on the word count, I have entered some text where it seems it does cut me off. So that's
Okay.
I was asking about the word or character.
Okay.
And then finally, as far as the square footage, the why, do you want us to give you a breakdown of how the square footage is going to be used?
Nope.
Okay.
Good question.
And again, that is another one that is there just so we can understand scale and expectations of you as a business owner. And be able to, quite frankly, it's getting harder to find some space. So it allows me when I'm working with alumni to pull this report and be able to see what you think you're having as an intake process. And it helps TechTown do that as well.
Is it Mycia?
Yes, it's Mycia. Yeah, you
Okay.
said it right. I have two questions. So for one, does having a collaboration and partnerships with like-minded organizations, is that more beneficial for your application?
It really just depends on how you use it in the context of your business. And so if, like say you had a partnership with a local nonprofit, that's great. But then, how is that going into helping the community? Like maybe you're teaming up, maybe you're partnering. I mean, I think it's just really, how is that partnership being used to benefit the business and the community?
And also, if you are applying and you do have a partnership, I'm trying to see how I should word this. If you have a partnership, do you see like two people, I'm trying to see how should I word this? If it's two organizations trying to apply for the same grant or for the same building, like the same concept. You see, are we doing it like?
Are you guys like co-owners?
Yes.
So I would say then that co-owner question pretty much applies. So you have to list them as like a co-owner and then make sure that they approve and what their role is in the business.
Okay.
Thank you. Great question. There's in the backpack.
Hang on, she's.
Hold on. Sorry. For profit. So business type, she has what the business type can be, and must be a for-profit. You could be a social enterprise, like a L3C, or maybe you're a nonprofit that has a for-profit entity attached to it, but this is for a for-profit. Question in the back. No. So
we are expert in business plan then, or at what point of the state we expert in business plan?
So yeah, so we never ask for the business plan until like you get to the, like you say you won, and then you're working with Victoria to figure out how to leverage funding, work with funders, really.
Didn't when you were top 10.
Yeah.
You need a business plan, but we don't.
We don't ask, you don't required. I mean, it's really like if you're about to open, knowing that the funding community usually requires a business plan to move forward, that's pretty much is more for moving you ahead and actually that opening process, not for us to review as a criteria whether you move on in this contest. Because honestly, after the top 10, it's all public votes. So it's not, that is not in our hands anymore. Like literally, it's only up to the top 25, and then the top 25 is voted on also by a community of judges. And then from that on, it's the public. And then the hatch off is a little different. But no, business plan is not required. And then no, you're not required to have partnerships or co-owners or anything. Like literally, that's just information for us to just get a whole vision of what you're presenting and what you're trying to do.
Business plan, clauses.
Yeah, I mean, if that makes you comfortable, yeah, but like I said, it's not required. I mean, if you would like us to sign a business plan confidentiality clause, we're more than happy to. Just also know funders are typically not signing clauses. They just review it. So just being mindful of what you're presenting to and going back to the beginning, everything you put in this application is for you. We're not sharing this information. We're not sharing your, amazing ideas that you're putting on here. Like this is for us to help you actually actualize your dream, whether it's through this contest or through TechTown. We're not here to, take any trade secrets. The people who are working, who are judging the contest come from the ecosystem. There are other small business owners. They know the rules. They kind of like basically sign a participant agreement-ish, but it's really kind of, it's all our good faith because we're all here to help businesses succeed here in the region. Okay. We have other people have questions. No, we did not say that. We did not say that.
Yeah, the
So-
question was, how does the $100,000 get dispersed?
It's just disbursement. And so, no,
No.
no. So we can answer it. No. So we can answer it offline because we know we have
Yeah.
a couple other people have
That's
questions
really
too.
specific to the relationship when you win and what the opening plan is for a particular business, and it's catered and formed to be the most efficient for that business that wins and to ensure that that money is protected for that business. So it does change with the winner based on the winner's needs and desires.
Some people draw it down immediately, and some people take a lot longer to draw it down.
Nobody.
Huh? Go ahead. So the question was, why are there only those 3 cities? I'll let you answer that.
Oh, yeah, that was a Victoria Hatch Detroit original. And the beginning, the first year, all what was accepted was Detroit. And then after that, and that was based on our founder, Nick Gorga, and his desire to do work in the city based on, you know, moving back from Chicago and kind of having a vision. It was started by him, and, you know, that was the purpose originally. We expanded it in the second year to include Highland Park and Hamtramck because really, quite frankly, they're part of our community. We can't be good neighbors without them being successful. And so that was something that we incorporated. And why it is specific to that is purely because that is what the founder had as a plan. And it is a desire to build and put money into the city of Detroit, Hamtramck and Highland Park. And we don't need to put money into Birmingham or other like areas. So that's really what it was. It's more about design and programming and his commitment at that time. I hope that answered. And if you have more detail you need, I can let you know. But we have been approached by other people to, you know, like to teach them how to do it. I had been in the past in other areas. It's not easy to get the money and to do it. And also, I will say too, with the funding that comes through Comerica Bank, it also aligns with their mission on making sure that this financial contribution is being made into the community that fits a threshold on their giving criteria as well. So it kind of all dovetails together.
So I'll quickly answer some of these questions online and I'll come back to the room. If you have a brand new idea, can you apply? Absolutely. You don't have to have an LLC. You don't have to have it registered. It could just purely be an idea at this stage. Like Victoria said, we've had winners who are purely just ideas, go on to win. And then we just she helped make it happen. So, yeah, nothing is required. You could just have an idea. Our suggestion is to just have a well thought out, researched idea. Don't just wake up, apply with 2-word answers and think that is going to be a successful application. We just want well thought out applications that demonstrate that you are going to be good stewards and business owners, not only of the community, but of the $100,000 investment that Comerica and TechTown are putting into you to help you open your business. The other question is, no, you do not have to break. Oh, we are asked Cherie's question about square footage. How many applicants are typically competing? It varies. I mean, it's really based on completed applications. It's over 100, over 150 typically at the end of the day, sometimes over 200. We have a lot of people in this system right now who have already started or in some process of their application. So I cannot tell you an exact number, but it is a highly competitive contest. And so that is why we are continually to stress, look at the criteria that we suggest, really, take to heart the suggestions that we've been making as we've gone through the application, because we're doing it based on what we want, like what is going to be most compelling to tell your story that you will raise up above anybody else. So honestly, I would say the people who did attend the information session last year, like many of them went on to be top 10. And so you all are, I would say, probably have a leg up already in the process as you're going through your application, because now you're taking heed to the words and then also the questions that you're asking. Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, we use online voting. So every person gets 1 vote per day, and throughout those days, sometimes, like usually it's 1 vote per day per IP address. So it does track your IP address to make sure that you're not voting repeatedly. We also just make sure that people aren't, spamming the system from some like country that is just like hacking in. But yes, that if public voting happens there,
And, we track buying, you can't buy votes. There's a
No.
lot of details to that.
once you get to that stage.
And I would really say, don't worry about that right now,
Mm-mm.
because that's gonna be something that we've had people who have a huge social media presence that have made it to the top 10 and who have had zero social media
Correct.
presence that have made it to the top 10. And people have won with zero social media presence before.
Mhm.
this. So it's not, we're very clear that it's not a popularity contest. It's an opportunity for you to start to get that social media, draw. And the votes guide the decisions, but the hatch off makes the decision.
Correct.
And that's a combination of judges that are from the ecosystem.
We have a question. If a person owns a building, can they qualify? Yes, as long as you can own a building. I'm actually Catherine Coleman. I think she's still online. She was bouncing around the Motor City our winter last year. She owned the building, but she hadn't it was just a shell. So right now she's using the money to build it out. So as long as you're not operating your business out of that building as a storefront, you're fine.
And that lists as an asset. So that is shown as something you are bringing to the business. We mentioned shelving before. Well, bringing a building is pretty darn.
I think. we answered those.
Does any,
Question, the originator said,
no, Gorga, Nick?
okay, is he a part of the, I guess, application process or?
No, Nope.
He hasn't been, he has been in the past, and he hasn't been since, but that was because, he needed to, his life cycle changed as well over the 12 years. And he needed to kind of distance himself a little bit from the pieces, which is another reason why we moved it over to TechTown. But also the consistency is with me really. And that's what Christiane is.
one other question is, can you get help with filling out your answers? Yeah, we're not helping you. So you might have gone through our retail boot camp program or maybe Goldman Sachs or anything. Honestly, the folks that work here at TechTown will not help you in writing this application. So we'll put it that way.
Unfortunate, it's fortunate for those that haven't gone through that program and fortunate for those that have. It just keeps the playing field.
Yes, we do not influence anything from our side. We're purely the administrators of this program.
And there is a question.
Yeah.
So I'm Christy Malone. I'm the Chief Program Officer at TechTown and
I'm Victoria Katansky and
strategist and residence.
Strategist in residence.
So I'm the point of contact. So if you're emailing, I'm usually the one responding to your emails that via the Hatch Detroit at techtowndetroit.org for any questions.
And then if she has questions, we do.
Yeah. So sure. Can you read the
Oh, so the question is, please describe your other, and that was
Oh.
with the lists of what you are and then other.
Correct.
But
that would be offered, or other types of business that would be offered.
I can't hear you too well. Do you mind coming up here and let me see?
Copy and paste of what it was for some example.
Oh, so that is because the reason it showed as, please describe your other type of business. The question is, there, in the beginning of the application, there's a section where you can choose apparel, food business,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. When you choose other, it fills this piece that says now write in what that other
Other,
type of
correct.
business is. So I don't fit within that other, the first 5 things, I'm something totally different. My other, I click and then I describe it there.
But there is downloadable questions already before you get to the application. So there's an actual Word document or PDF of all the questions, so you don't have to copy and paste. Okay.
A quick timetable of funding from February.
I will go back.
So
So
that's a really tricky question though, because you said timetable to funding. So timetable, it's not a timetable to funding, it's a timetable to announcement of winner. As was mentioned, there is not, like, you do not walk out the door on May whatever with a check for $100,000, because we see this as the start of that process, not the end of the process. So meaning that, we got to make sure that, again, that $100,000 is protected for you, and that it's used in the best way to make sure you can get your additional funding, that you're not getting a tax liability for income on that money right off the bat, that you're, you know, that we're really being good stewards to Comerica with the money. And it's the way that we ensure that you actually open. So you enter into a contract, as Christiane said, that contract will list your potential goals and deadlines and what you think you're going to use it for. It does get modified throughout time because everything kind of changes a little bit, but it does hold you accountable to benchmarks and milestones so that you, you're showing your progress in opening. So we don't just write $100,000 and then you end up going to South America for the weekend. You know what I mean? That's really what it is.
Let's see.
You got one over here. No, we've had everybody that we know works full-time. Entrepreneurs are hustlers. We got like 15 different.
We have, yeah, right. I don't like, there's no entrepreneur that just has one job, including us.
Yeah, exactly. So no, that's not a detriment. I mean, that it's up to you if it's a detriment. The requirements are going to be the same for you as anyone else. So you're going to have to put the extra time in. If you don't think you can do that, then that's the decision, you know, you're making. But for us, it doesn't, everybody's got to make a living. Yeah, no, it wasn't. And the question was, if you work full-time, does that make you ineligible? Absolutely not. I can't imagine the luxury of opening a business and not working full-time right now.
That lottery. Question online is having a footprint larger than 2,500 square feet lower your chances? No, it's just really being applicable to your business. So the business that you're suggesting about pickleball, tennis combo, right? Absolutely. It requires something larger. You know, we just want to get past people thinking money and space and the amount of space I have is actually going to make my business more successful. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to own a building, or I want to buy a building, or I want to have a storefront, but I want 10,000 square feet. But like, you are just literally selling cupcakes. You know what I mean? Like, does that be applicable to the best use of that amount of space for that type of business? And so we're trying to help educate our business owners to say, space doesn't always equal success or, you know, higher chances of looking better or being more profitable. But if your space is actually being used, i.e. in this scenario of like pickleball, absolutely, because you're actually using that space. But you're not just opening a cupcake shop that you could operate out of like a 100 square foot space when you know, and trying to make it apply to a 10,000 square foot space.
Yeah, and I think that the caveat to that is there is it is that's why you got to be clear about what your business is, because with a pickleball piece, it's a completely different build out budget than full scale catering and event hall that requires every single inch to be perfectly complete. So a 10,000 square foot warehouse piece that's like Bowling Warehouse or like Detroit Dart, like I said before, those don't require that per square foot infrastructure improvement budget that this $100,000, this particular contest would not get you to, because that would be a budget of upwards of $1.5 to $2 million. You know what I mean? Our sweet spot is in that smaller budget amount, but with a pickleball, it could work because it's within that and doesn't have that full build out requirements. So it's really, describing your business is the most important thing.
So the question on here is for the section of the competition where the top contestants make mood boards. Is there a meeting or seminar like a science fair where we're trying to promote our brand and stand out? So it's not a science fair. So it's really like the top 25 people are our panel of judges are reading your application and they're looking at the mood boards. And so it's opportunity. Though you're not present at all. This is literally your board is representing you and your business, and mostly your business with your personality of that's coming through that business to shine through. So it's not about you to like promote who you are. We want to know about your business, And so they're using that and your application. So also this goes back to writing a good application. So if you do make it to the top 25 and you are making that mood board, those two actually mesh up great. And then you have a stronger case to move you on to the top 10.
And more of that information, if you do move on,
Will be
will be provided. for
100%.
you. So you'll have like that information.
So we did answer this question before. Can the property be mixed use commercial where you reside in a portion and you operate in a portion? Yes, we did answer that.
Yes, but that's really specific.
It is.
Again.
It is.
You can reside in a portion. I love some live work spaces more than anyone. I grew up in one. They're incredible. But the money is to the work space, not to the live space.
Correct.
So within that budget, I don't want to know that you want to put a crystal clawfoot tub in your personal bathroom. We just want to see that you are going to use it for the business.
100%. Yes. All right. Any other questions? Going once, twice. All right. Well, thank you all so much. We know we went a little bit over time.